Welcome to the From Concealment Podcast, the show for firearm enthusiasts who like to shoot, train, carry, and compete. Get ready for some shooting and sight, firearm and accessory reviews, and of course, insight on concealed carry. And now, broadcasting from behind enemy lines in the From Concealment studio, it's Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams.
Hey, Freedom Nation, this is Pete Mitchell.
And I'm Dan Sams.
And you're listening to the From Concealment Podcast.
Yeah, buddy.
Are you having bourbon for breakfast? Is that what I see over there?
First of all, it's 2:00 in the afternoon here.
So it's definitely bourbon.
Lunch, but this is Pepsi.
Okay.
With some bourbon in it. But
with some bourbon,
yeah.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, which I don't normally do, actually. I normally drink, if I'm going to have bourbon, I have it straight. Although I don't drink a lot of bourbon. But yeah, we were out of iced tea. So
well, you know, if you're out of iced tea, you got to go for what you got. I mean,
that's right.
Dude, what's funny to me is I have not had any alcohol at this point in about a year and a half. Mainly because, you know, it's like the extra calories. I was like, I'm not going to drink the calories that I'm trying to eliminate.
Yeah.
But it has made me wonder, am I ever going to drink again? Like, I'm at that stage. Am I ever going to have a beverage again? I don't know.
All right.
I've got no answer to that.
All right. Yeah. Well, you know what? That's all right.
But
there's nothing wrong with
not drinking.
With not drinking. Yeah.
There's nothing right with it either, but you know.
You know, as long as you don't call the beverage itself evil somehow. Obviously, getting drunk is sinful. We're against that. I always like to make that really clear. However, like Scripture talks about, like, you know, it's the doctrine of demons to forbid marriage or taking in certain types of food. So keep that in mind. If somebody tries to tell you that the alcohol itself is wicked, you could be like, you're supporting the doctrines of demons. Well,
that's one of my favorite things to tell people. You know, you're supporting the doctrines of demons. That's what I like to just bring out.
Oh, I've gotten more comfortable saying those kinds of things.
I do say that. I do say that to every Democrat I know. I will say that.
That's worth saying. Yeah. Oh, and some Republicans. I did call a friend of mine an idolater because I'm like, you're loving this candidate so much, you are rejecting the biblical principles of Scripture, and you're an idolater. You're obeying this person rather than God. This is idolatry.
That's funny.
He unfriended me, but you know, that's all right. Now he can't narc me out.
Dude, okay, so was it yesterday? It was either yesterday or the day before. My wife and I went to the grocery store. And she really likes going to Target. Like, Target's her place. So we're going to Target. And we got to wear a mask to walk in. And then I take mine off because I'm like, this is ridiculous. All right. I met your stupid rule. I wore the mask coming through the door. And we're walking. And they got everyone lined up to go through the checkout. And, of course, I'm not wearing my mask. And this lady goes, "Put your mask on, please." Like someone who is just shopping there. Put your mask on, please.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of myself because I ignored her. What was going through my head was I wanted to tell her to go have marital relations with herself, but I didn't. So I was really, really proud of myself.
You clearly, the sanctification of Christ has just really gone a long way in your life, brother.
I was like, are you kidding me? And then my wife was like, people are so rude. Like, who cares if I'm wearing a mask or not? Like, this is stupid. And it's a bandana at that. It's not even a real mask, right? Because I won't do the mask thing. I got to do the bandana. I got to look like, you know, I'm going to rob the place. Which in California and Illinois are the two states that specifically have rules that say you cannot wear a mask while carrying a firearm.
Oh, dear.
So I should have said to her, I'm sorry, but the statute in California is you can't wear a mask while you're carrying a firearm. That's what I should have said. But
I think you could get away with I'm not legally permitted to wear a mask at this moment. Yeah.
I'm sure that would have gotten the cops called on me because it is still California.
Yeah, probably so. Oh,
But yeah.
man. Yeah, that sucks, man. I'm sorry that you have to run into headaches like that. I hate it.
So the big news this past week, as you saw, as I copied you in on it,
Yep.
the Ninth Circuit Court here in California has confirmed that it is unconstitutional to ban magazines that are over 10 rounds in size.
Amen.
And so, like, you even asked her, like, hey, what do you think that's going to mean? How much, length of time are you going to get to be able to buy magazines? And unfortunately, nothing has changed for us. Of course, now my dog's got to be barking like crazy. I don't know if you can hear her in the background, but
that's all right. Does that mean the ATF is there? Make sure that they don't shoot your dog.
Well, we know they're going to shoot my dog, even if my dog is sleeping in the corner.
That's exactly right.
But it actually doesn't do anything.
Sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for us here in California at all. There's a stay on the federal judge. So Judge Benitez, whenever it was, last year, 2 years ago, I don't even remember now. He was the one who said, okay, look, it's unconstitutional to ban magazines that have more than 10 rounds. This is basically an extension of Heller, which said if it's in common use, you can't ban it. It's in common use. Yeah. Which I always find kind of interesting because the government in California, meaning police, and then every California legal organization beyond the police, which there's a lot in California. We got park rangers, we got anything you can imagine. They all get to have whatever kind of firearm they want and whatever magazines they want. So my argument's always been, okay, if you don't have a problem with, let's say, the police having a 30-round magazine in their, whether they got an AR-15 or a full auto, I have no idea. We're the ones that face the threats long before the cops do. Why shouldn't we have the very same thing that they have? Like, they have it to protect themselves. Why shouldn't we have it to protect ourselves? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So,
exactly right.
So, so basically, when that judge, he basically said it was unconstitutional to ban on magazines that have more than 15 rounds. We had what is affectionately referred to as Freedom Week. We had about a week where there was a giant whooshing sound in the United States as every magazine in the nation was sucked into California because it was finally legal for us to buy them. So 30-round magazines, anything to create your own extended round magazines, all of that was sucked into California.
Yep.
And so, of course, California Attorney General, he goes and asks for a stay of that order, so they can appeal to the Ninth Circuit. And that has to be done by the judge that issued the order, Judge Benitez. So he waits until they finally go to the Ninth Circuit and go, okay, well, he's not responding to us, so we're going directly to the Ninth Circuit and asking them to stay it. And so then he stays the order and he says, okay, but you know what? All these people have been buying in good faith, so they got until 5 o'clock tomorrow to finish their purchases. Not receive them, mind you, but finish the purchase. And so, I mean, it was like, for me, it was weeks after I got my 50-round magazine for my Glock. I got, all this, but it finally came weeks later. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And so anyway, that, of course, gets appealed to the Ninth Circuit. And so this was a 3-judge panel. And the 3-judge panel, 2 of the judges came back and said, no, it's unconstitutional. This is totally unconstitutional. And it's a bad law, which doesn't do anything. So the judge's Benitez's stay is still in effect. We can't buy or sell magazines that have more than 10 rounds. We still get to have our magazines if we already had them. And it's just a matter of time. It's going to, of course, California is going to appeal it to the basically the full Ninth Circuit Court. And who knows what will happen there, because Trump has put a lot of conservatives on the Ninth Circuit. It doesn't look like it did before by any stretch of the imagination, but there's still more liberals than there are conservatives. So who knows? Who knows what will happen? and then it'll get appealed to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court will not hear it because
they're kind of sucking right now. By the way, they're making me mad. Oof.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean they have sucked for a long time. Let's just be honest. No, well, what's really strange to me is how hard California works to implement and keep a ban on a standard capacity magazine. And I know that liberals don't think like us anyway, but they're working so hard. It's like to ask for the stay of the order, as if they're really worried that like the end of the world will come if this goes for more than a week. Kind of stuff just frustrates the heck out of me.
Well, the problem is for them, because it is not illegal to own magazines, and that was where they went too far in their latest rule. They said, you have to get rid of them. Well, now, excuse me, guys, sorry about this. Well, now we got issues of basically the government telling private citizens what you bought was legal when you bought it, you owned it, but now you can no longer have it, and you're not going to be compensated for it. So that was where the law went, and that was part of the reason why the judge basically came back and said, no, this is illegal. You can't tell Californians they can't have it when it was legal when they bought it. It's legal for them to own it.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, the whole time I'm looking at this thing going, yeah, but we've got freaking California saying, well, it's okay for certain people in California, i.e. police officers, to have whatever they want. But you, general citizen, you don't get to have it. And by the way, the cops work for me. And the cops do what I tell them to do. And I tell them to stand outside my house. They stand outside my house and they protect me. But you don't get to protect yourself. There's real issues with that, man. Real issues.
It's tyranny, man. It is just simple tyranny. That's just what it is. No word for it other than tyranny. Man. Well, speaking of 30-round magazines, can I make a positive comment about a 30-round mag?
Well, I think we could only make positive comments around 30-round mags.
So today I'm at Lake Erie Arms. I pick up Amend 2. It's their second gen of 30-round AR mags. Really, really sturdy. They're only like $12, $10.99 is what this one was. In fact, the guy checking me out is like, what the heck? Why are we not charging more for this? Comparing it to like my Hex mags and my P mags and whatever else, I can't remember what all kind of mags I have. I am really impressed. It's made in the USA. It's really inexpensive, right? I mean, I'm right around the $10 mark, even right now when things are a little bit high. And man, it is a solid thing. So I'm told that the first gen of these, that there was some issues with the feeders or whatever, that's been fixed. I'm impressed. You like grab something and you're like, man, this is just sturdy. And so I was expecting to get something really, really cheap. And I'm just going to give, I haven't shot out of it yet, but I'm just going to give a quick recommendation. Everything that I'm looking at on this, I am really impressed. So Amend 2, worth checking the thing out, especially if you plan on sneaking some over the border into communist California. So, which
I would never recommend and tell everyone to never do. That's very illegal. Importing magazines.
Kidding. I'm only kidding. You don't want to do that.
What's funny is people ask me that all the time. They're like, "Hey, you go to Nevada, you go to Arizona, do you pick up magazines?" I'm like, "No, I had Freedom Week. I'm stocked up, baby. I'm set, I'm good to go. I got so many mags, it's not even funny." Like,
buddy.
It's funny because when I go to train and, I'll take a class, let's say it'll be a rifle class, and they'll be like, bring 300 rounds or something like that. I'm like, well, why don't I bring 300 rounds inside of 10 magazines, and I'll just take 10 magazines with me? Like, that's what I do. I just take magazines.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand guys who don't keep their magazines loaded. Like, I don't get it.
I don't either, man.
What good is that going to do you?
Yeah. Well, I bought that new mag today, and the first thing I did was load it. I keep my gun belt ready, man. Like I'm rocking. I've got a good. How many 5 times 30? What's that? I'm not good at math. 150 rounds.
Sure, sounds good.
I'm terrible at math. I have other people to do it for me. I have 130 rounds that I try to have ready to go. Rock one into the AR if you're gonna, have to go out for, purposes of defense. And then you've got, 4 more mags ready to go. It sounds like a good way to me. So
yeah, I actually don't load mine to 30. I load mine to usually 28 because if you got to do a tactical reload when you got the bolt closed, you can't stick a 30 round magazine in. It's not going to work. It will not fit.
So I totally see that that whole thinking. I was following it for a while. I'm still good with that. There's still a whole reason to do that. I am a little bit more in the I'm going to shoot till that thing is empty, and I'm going to throw another one in there, and I'm going to shoot till that is empty. That might not be the wisest thing, but right now I'm
reason why I don't follow that philosophy, and it's not a bad philosophy because isn't that the way we all think? We're going to keep shooting until it's empty, bolts back, slap in a new one, and go to town. But the reality is what
Clint Smith says to do.
Well, the reality is you got to change magazines often. And that means before it's empty. Like, if you're all of a sudden behind cover and you're like, look, I'm behind cover. Now's the time to change the magazine. Because I don't, what is there? 5 rounds left? 10? I don't know what's left in it. But I know if I slap in a new one, I'm good to go. Bolts closed.
Yeah.
Well, you got more, right? Like in my case, 28, hopefully 1 in the chamber. So I'm at 29. Mm-hmm. And then you take that magazine that is now not empty and you put it on another place on your body. Usually, in my case, I put it in my back, like between my belt and my pants. And I know that if I'm down to that magazine,
you're okay. Right. Yeah,
this sucks because I'm not even sure how many rounds I got left in it, but it's the last magazine I got. So better make these shots count.
That's good old Garand Thumb. That he has a whole indexing of mags. Like he does this. He's got a system. So he has Kydex mag pouches that stay open that he uses for when he's indexing, and he has a certain system of keeping track. I mean, it's mostly like what you're talking about. Is that semi-used magazine is going in one place and he's pulling in a new one.
Right.
But he knows, okay, over here, and that's why he has the Kydex, mag pouches that stay open, that it's easy to slip into, so he can go drop that thing right back in. Yeah. There's a good philosophy. It really is. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. But interesting enough along this same line. Are you a bullets forward or a bullets back guy?
I've been going forward, man.
Okay.
But I'm not. I honestly am not practiced enough right now with my current setup. Okay. So I just changed. I just got new mag pouches, and I've got one of my old ones. I've got a new system, and I'm still doing mags forward or bullets forward. I haven't practiced with it yet, so I'm not certain I'm going to stay with that. We'll see. So
really?
I'm just cautiously saying we're going to see. Go ahead. Do you have a thought on it, though? Are you a bullets forward guy?
I'm definitely a bullets forward guy. And for me at this point, it's because that's how I train. So in competition, you almost always go bullets forward because you're actually quicker in your reloads because your brain, think about how you grab the magazine. Your brain knows how to index that finger and just shove it in. And it doesn't even have to think about it. But if it's backwards, then you're doing a different movement. I can't even think how I would do it.
Different, and I would say extra movement.
Yeah, and so
it's almost more movement, which is
yeah. So almost every guy in competition is bullets forward, and so I'm bullets forward universal for myself because I don't want to ever think about it. If it's 9mm Glock magazine, bullet forward. If it's AR-15, bullet forward. Michael Hernandez, who we had on here before, he does bullets forward on AR-15 until it's like, I can't remember. It's like he switches it based on where it's at on his hip. And I'm like, dude, you got to be kidding me, man. Like, I don't want to think ever.
Yeah.
Like, which one is this? I want it to always be bullets forward. And so I'm always bullets forward.
Does that have to do with as he's reaching around a certain way, it's easier to turn his hand after he's reached back far enough?
I think so. It wasn't bad advice. It was just I don't want the extra thought process.
So I get where he's going with that. That's why I haven't pounded the Bible down and said bullets forward only,
Right.
because I've got more mags on my rig now, and so I'm thinking if I'm gonna reach back a certain place, there's an awkward twist to my hand, and I'm like, would it make sense to be pulling that from? So that one's bullets backwards. So then as I'm my hands, so then I'm pulling that way, and it's natural once I pull it forward. But do I want mags to go that far back? And Lord willing, I want to get myself a good chest rig soon. And then I'm like, the game is going to change anyway, because I'm going to be pulling from the chest also. And so I'm thinking my extra stuff is going to go chest. I'm still going to carry my belt.
Yeah, and see, that's a good point. See. I actually don't have a chest rig, and so I've never had to think through the issue of what way do you have the bullets for on a chest rig. Like I've never had to think about it.
Well, for me, I'm thinking this through a little bit. I think bullets are going to go pointing towards my left. I shoot left-handed because I'm left-eye dominant. And so I'm thinking that's going to be the easiest way, is bullets pointing to my left arm. We'll see. I got to work all that stuff out. And honestly, man, I've got to get that plate carrier, because it's going down. I'm gonna regret it if I don't get one soon. And I want to go full on level 4. I had a meeting with some brothers this weekend where we were talking through some training stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm behind. I gotta get that plate carrier, man, so I can train the way I'm supposed to be training. So anyway,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Are you allowed to have plate carriers out there in Ohio? And I was going to say
in Ohio. Yeah, they've tried to ban them, but they're not illegal in California. There's only like 2 states. Yeah, there's only like 2 states where it's like you have to buy it in person. You can't buy it on the internet. I think it's like Connecticut and probably Chicago, probably Illinois for, all their stupid rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they've tried to ban it, but they couldn't pull it off. I mean, how are you going to ban it?
It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's got one. All the cops got it. I mean, come on. This doesn't make sense.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I'm curious. That would be a fun thing. I would love to get some guys who are rocking the armor to give us some thoughts on what they're recommending. I've got my eye on a couple of different ones, and I keep going back and forth, but I think I'm going to go on all out level 4. Because I'm thinking, like, here's my thinking, because I've got a friend of mine who's a bounty hunter. He's a solid dude. He's doing light level operations all the time, right? Like he's catching somebody that got caught with too much weed that didn't make their bail, right? Or didn't, make their court appointment.
By the way, is weed legal in Ohio?
No, not really.
Okay.
There's some CBD oil and things like that are allowed. There's some medicinal things, but not really.
See, I was just curious because I saw a great meme over the weekend, and it said, there's something seriously wrong when your state pays its bills from the taxes it collects from weed while it keeps people in prison who tried to raise enough money to pay their own bills by selling weed. And I was like, I kind of can't argue with that.
It is. I'm 100%. I think that's correct.
Yeah.
And it kind of breaks my heart, especially what we're seeing now is guys that are caught with too much weed. They're getting effectively life sentences, and we've got child rapists that get 3 months. And I'm like, this is insane. This is absolute insanity. Yeah, that one will get me riled up if I'm not careful, because I'm like, I think we need the death penalty for that kind of for child rape. And people don't agree, but I'm like, I think we need that. And the fact that some dude just is trying to hustle a way to pay his bills, and he gets in trouble for weed. I'm like, this is a plant. Like, I might not think it's a wise thing to smoke it. I might think it's not good, but man, don't go ruining a guy's life over a plant. This is not okay.
So anyway, it's funny when I have conversations with Christians, because first of all, I've never personally tried marijuana. And for me, it was always a legal issue because it wasn't legal. And so I was like,
did you impersonally try it?
No, I've never done marijuana. I didn't drink before I was 21. I waited until I was 21. Like I was always like, these are the rules.
Yeah.
I'm sticking to the rules. And
same here, brother. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it came to like looking at marijuana now, like here in California now, it's legal. I think it's legal pretty much across the board in California. Like it's legal for recreation. It's been legal for medicinal for a while. But I don't think there's any rules on it other than, you can't have a bank account apparently if you run a marijuana dispensary because it's federally illegal, which is kind of funny in and of itself. But but I was always like, okay, well, here's the thing. If you believe that God created everything and he creates this specific plant that has incredible properties when a human consumes it, like get your appetite back if you've got, if you're got cancer and radiation, and like you look at all of the benefits that people have from smoking marijuana who have significant pain issues. Like I've always said, if I was ever told, look, you got to take, what is it, Oxycontin, like forget it. I'm not taking those freaking addictive drugs. I will take marijuana long before I ever take that. Because at least with marijuana, I know it's psychologically addictive, but it's not physically addictive. Like that's a big deal. Like I don't want to be addicted to anything. And and I'm like, when I talk to Christians about that, they're like, well, but I think God made a mistake. Really? You really think God made a mistake? He gave us a plant that has incredible properties that helps us when used correctly. And then you're going to tell me, well, he didn't make a mistake when he gave us alcohol? I mean, come on. Like, are you serious?
Or the thing that really gets me is, because I recognize it can be abused and there's bad things that can be done, but certainly has some valuable properties. Talking about cannabis here. But what's really interesting to me is to think of like the same person who would be opposed to marijuana will use a narcotic for pain treatment that's prescribed by a doctor and will at times get addicted and have terrible situations. I mean, talking like life-altering situations happen as a result of that, where I'm like, man, you were so against the marijuana.
Right.
And you're taking a much more, that's much more addictive and dangerous drug instead. And somehow, because it doesn't have the negative history, that you're okay with it. And that concerns me, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I'm not a guy who's ever tried marijuana. Like that's not my deal. Right. I'm not like, let's all smoke out. And I mean, that's not my deal, but I look at it and I'm like, yeah, but it's got a lot of great benefits when used correctly. And like anything, it can be abused. Anything can be abused. So
there's just a lot of cool stuff they can do with it. Like even in building things, like put aside the medicinal things, like it's a pretty amazing little plant.
It really is. Yeah. And when you look at the history of how it got banned, and they, just come out with nylon, and they wanted hemp off the market, and it's got THC, so let's ban hemp, and it's like, dude, are you serious? Like what? Yeah. Yep. Shady.
It's true. Oh, it's similar to the way that they treated crack versus cocaine, right? Crack was arguably, which is a terrible bad thing, right? But like, you could have the more potent cocaine, you could have a lot more of it. You could get caught with that and nobody would say boo. But if you had crack specifically, man, they would throw the book at you. I think both of those are bad drugs. So that's a whole other thing. What I was going to say though about armor, when we got in a really good discussion on cannabis legality, but my friend, he's actually a bounty hunter in California, but he has this modular system that it's a soft armor that's 3A rated. So it stops pretty much anything handgun. And he's like, man, for me running around all the time, this is what I wear. He's like, so unless we're going to do something that we know is extra dangerous, he's like, that's just how I do my day. He says, but I've got whatever plate that I can add to this. And he's like, when I add that, then it brings me up to a level, I forget what it is. I think it's level 4. And then you're still carrying the soft stuff underneath, which provides you some cushion and whatever. And I'm like, man, that's great. I think that's probably a better option for most people. But I'm like, I'm in a situation, I don't need to wear armor most days. If it's going down, I know it's really, really bad out there, right? I want my level 4 armor. So if I had to wear it every day, I'd have the soft 3A armor, no problem. But man, in the situation that we hopefully don't ever get in, but if we did get into it, I want to be rocking my level 4 armor, and I want to know that 308 isn't going to go through it. So, yeah.
What I love is, as a marketing guy, the guy that really made soft body armor take off. I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a great video. Like, you remember his old commercials? You can find them on YouTube. He was the guy that would shoot himself with like a 357 Magnum and then turn around and like shoot the bowling pins that were lined up against the wall, because he was showing police department after police department, this stuff works. Let me demonstrate it by shooting myself, and then I'm going to turn around and shoot these bowling pins to show you, he shot himself over 200 times to prove that this was the way to go. And I remember going, that is like some of the best marketing ever. And every once in a while on Facebook, we'll see some new armor vendor who has the balls to shoot themselves. And I'm like, I actually trust you now, because you're literally shooting yourself with your, 45, your 1911. And I'm like, this is amazing. It's amazing to me.
Yeah. I have some respect for that. I also think it's a little crazy.
Oh,
but I do respect
100%. I'm not shooting myself ever.
Yeah. Well, and these guys that are, of course, I don't see anybody doing this, but these guys that are testing the like shotguns and the 308s or the 5.56, and they're shooting their armor, and I'm like, holy cow. Like, now they're not wearing it,
right?
But I'm like, man, you look at even what's happening to the ballistics gel, and it's like, that's not going through. That's still, it's kind of like, hey, that sledgehammer is not going to pierce your skin, but somebody hits you with a sledgehammer, it's going to hurt. It could still do damage, even as it's spread out over the armor. And so I'm like, I ain't testing it. This is a worst case scenario. I'm wearing this just in case.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I was watching this video on, it was either Instagram or YouTube, and this guy was bench pressing a lot of weight. It looked probably like 400 pounds, 405. It looked like it was 4 plates on each side. Might have been 3. Doesn't really matter. At a certain point, it doesn't matter. So he's got this guy who's spotting him, right? And the guy like helps him lift it up, takes his hands away. And the guy, like, I don't understand these guys who don't wrap their thumbs around the bar. Like, they have it. So
I don't understand that either.
I'm like, this is stupid. Wrap your freaking thumb around it. That's why God gave us thumbs, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Freaking drops the bar right on his chest. And I'm like,
that could just kill you.
Dude, that's 400. Did the guy live? Like, yes, they get it off of him, but
did he live? Yeah.
He got hit with a bar with 400 pounds on it.
Yeah.
Your chest.
It's like the mouse trap. The mouse trap that comes through and just like cuts the mouse in half. Like, that's essentially what we're like. You could just squish you right in two, man.
I know. That's crazy. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just not, I don't know, that's a big risk to be taken to get slightly bigger muscles.
Well, just wrap your freaking thumb around it. Like,
yeah. That'll protect you right there.
At my height back in college, I was at 400. 405 is when you got 4 plates on each side. I was 5 pounds shy and I couldn't hit it. But I was never stupid enough to not wrap my thumb around it. I never understood those guys. I was like, I have no chance of dropping the bar on me. You guys all have a chance. This doesn't make any sense.
Oh, I'm chicken anyway. I'll use a Smith machine, man. I'm not even taking the risk. I'm set. I'll set that Smith machine to where I've got the little blocks on it to where I know it can't hit me.
Right.
And then even then, I'm like, I'm ready to rock this thing backwards so it doesn't fall down on me. Even then, like, I'm triple safety.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
No, but
yeah, that's the way. But when the gyms were open here in California, I would use the Smith machine for even my squats, right? Because it's just it's so much easier. You don't have to worry about anything. It's just easier. But now that I have to work out here at home, like I'm looking at my squat rack right now. Today was leg day. There's no Smith machine here, baby. I got to take the chance. Buddy. I got to take the risk. But I got a squat rack, so I'm fine. Put the bars in. Man. You're good. Yeah.
You'd be totally all right. Well, hey, before I forget, man, somebody was asking on about last week's episode on the list for the trauma kit.
Yeah.
And I've got a quick list I might just mention here, and then I can share the little Amazon list with you, brother. But I think our people need to know a little bit about what needs to be in a kit like this. Because I'm just thinking about accidental stuff. First thing, you want to get yourself some of those bandaging shears, the heavy duty scissors. You can get those for like $6 or $7. You can get nice ones for 20, right? North American Rescue Vent Chest Seal. They come in packs of 2, $16.50. I'm going to tell you, if you don't do anything else, get yourself some chest seal for less than $20, right? And then get yourself a $16. Recon Medical makes a tourniquet. If you get yourself a tourniquet and chest seal, you are already, like, for less than $40, right? Less than 30. You've got yourself the essentials for the worst case scenario type stuff. So I'm going to tell you that right there gets you there. Get yourself an Israeli bandage, another $16. You can get those 6-inch bandages. Those are like the compression bandages that wrap around on their own. Another $15-$16 there. Quick Clot for $20. Nasopharyngeal airway for $6. And I mean, think about that. That right there, what are we at? 30, 45, $65 right there, maybe $70. You've got yourself pretty good in the essentials. You want to go next level, get yourself some gauze, some Band-Aids, whatever. Get yourself a catheter, a chest catheter to be able to pierce. Yeah, not that other kind of catheter.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing?
like the needle, so in case you've got, but if you've got the right kind of chest seal, you shouldn't have to worry about that needle anyway. But let me just encourage you, man, we'll share this list here, but just get on Amazon, get yourself chest seal, Israeli bandage, and a tourniquet, and then learn how to use them. I think for our guys out there, I would assume almost all, if not all, of our listeners are good shooters, and you can be a really good shooter. It doesn't mean that everybody at the range is.
Well, it's not even just the range. I mean, think about it. The reason why we carry guns is to protect ourselves and our family.
Yeah.
But there's a more likely chance that we'll need the trauma kit.
Yep.
Because of an active shooter situation, whether it was, some crazy guy who's out there shooting everybody, or just, like, why wouldn't you carry that? So I love the idea of putting one of these together, because I don't have one, and I think it's stupid of me not to. Like, I'm carrying a gun, but I won't carry this stuff. Like,
yeah. Well, and you can go to Imminent Threat Solutions, ITS, or some of these other ones where they've got a ready-made trauma kit ready to go, and you're going to spend a little bit more for it. Get your little nice pouch that it comes in, though. Definitely, it's worth doing, man. So I'm going to highly recommend everybody do that. What's the old Garand thumb? And I know I reference him a lot, but he says your rig, whatever you have, needs to have 3 functions. You need to make sure you've got stuff to make holes. So you need your ammo, and you need your gun. You need to have something to stop holes. That would be your plates. And then you need to be able to plug holes. So you get those 3 things all built in there. And I would say, if you're just at the range, man, just even going about, be able to plug holes, man. Don't neglect that just because it doesn't seem cool. It's definitely going to seem cool when, you or somebody else is bleeding and you're like, man, I'm glad I didn't cheap out and not spend $20 on this chest seal, right? It might buy just enough time. It is much more likely to buy you time. Same with the tourniquet, man. Every cop should carry a tourniquet. How many of those guys? I think they got the whole joke about the cops having Glock leg, where they shoot themselves in the leg. That's the whole thing. And so, like, man, you need a tourniquet for that, man. Like, or the videos of the guys who they're pulling out of their appendix carry and not exercising good trigger discipline. And
no, are you serious?
I saw a video just maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and I mean I don't know that it made me cringe more than anything. It was rough. And all you see, it's one of those where they cut it off, right? The video, right? you see him like, and he's being stupid. He's holding the gun. It's kind of dark in there, and you see the muzzle flash, and you're like, oh man.
I am so careful when I reholster my gun because I don't wear my shirts tucked in. So, and when I train, I'm training with an outside the waistband holster. I mean, my shirt's always getting in the way. So I'm always like literally I'm lifting the shirt up and I am so careful. And if there's any resistance, I stop, I look, I check what's going on, and then finally put the gun on. Cause I'm using a Glock, right? So there's no external safety. It's not like a 1911 where you can throw that safety on and you don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah. Well, you know what I do? I will usually take the holster out and I'll reholster without it, and then put the whole unit back in my
That's
pants.
what I'm doing, and in the waistband carry.
Yes.
100%. Yeah. That's the way to do it.
Even without the waistband or outside the waistband, you're still wanting to be super careful.
Yeah, because I still got a leg and I got veins and arteries. I don't want to be shot by myself.
Yeah. Well, and there's a misunderstanding that people think, because we've seen all the medical shows and whatever, we're like, somebody shoots themselves in the leg. It's like it doesn't matter. It's like, he'll be fine. There's no major arteries or no major, organs there, whatever. He'll be fine. Get him to the hospital. Like, they don't realize, like, you can lose a lot of blood really fast, especially you think about, like, closer to your torso. You've got some major blood veins going out of there. Man, you can lose blood quick. And actually you catch the wrong place in your leg, and even with the tourniquet, your chances are slim.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
You can lose a leg. I mean, that's the other thing too that makes me so frustrated when you hear people talking about cops and, well, why don't they just shoot them in the leg? Like, first of all, cops are horrible shots. All right. So now we're asking them to be sharpshooters under pressure, adrenaline pumping through their veins. And now you want me to shoot them in the leg? I mean, but you don't think people die from being shot in the leg? Come on. Of course they do. They bleed out.
Happens plenty.
It's not the hole that kills you. It's the bleeding out more often than not. That's what's killing you.
Yeah. I actually saw a pretty good video a guy was doing where they were talking about what happens as you lose however many liters of blood.
Really?
And he had what he had was water bottles that were dyed. I don't know what he put in them to I don't know if he was thickening them up somehow, but he put dye in them so it wasn't just water. And he was demonstrating so that you could gauge how much blood you were losing based by how much was on the ground. And so he was pouring out, and he was talking about timing. I wish I could find the video, but that's not a bad thing to think about. Get yourself, 6-liter bottles and just start having a look at I start losing consciousness. I forget what it is, especially depending on your size, but you think about how you feel after you've given blood, right? And you feel a little bit woozy. That can happen really fast from even a cut, gunshot wound. You do not want to screw around with that kind of stuff. And that's why you need your trauma kit ready to rock. So anyway, that was a little tangent.
Hey, throw that trauma kit stuff on the Facebook page.
Good call. I will. What I've done is I've got a link to the wish list on Amazon.
Sweet.
I've just made it public, and I will share that link on here right now. Good stuff, man. So yeah, wild times there. Do you have any other thoughts related to that, brother, or anything else you had on your mind? Otherwise, I've got more recommendations I'd love to give here.
Yeah, give more recommendations, man.
All right, so because we're just in a time, I'm just going to be real honest. We're in such a time with ammo. People are freaking out. People are buying ammo.
Have you seen the memes? They're selling them in dime bags now.
Yes,
little 9mm dime bags of ammo.
Thought that was good. So this is a great time. First of all, don't be ashamed if you have to buy steel case ammo. I don't recommend steel case ammo, but if you can't get anything else, don't not have ammo. This is not steel case, but I do want to recommend PMC. I don't know if you guys have ever shot PMC.
I have.
PMC is really inexpensive, at least when there's not, a huge
an ammo shortage in the nation.
Right? But even now, so I want you to think about the PMC. You can get a box for I think $10.99, $11, somewhere in that realm, which is more than it used to be, admittedly. But You can do all right with this. This is solid ammo. It does the job. I've stacked rounds with this stuff. So if you're looking for ammo and you're like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to afford it at all. First of all, afford it. Like, find a way to get 150 rounds. Like, get your loadout worth. If you're really broke right now, get your loadout worth. Like, make sure that you've got, and then, man, you can get the simple mag pouches, get yourself a gun belt. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get a loadout's worth of ammo. And that at least gets you emergency situation ready to go. 120, 150 rounds. I've heard of, like, carrying as many as 200. You're probably not going to need to carry that many. You could think about 100, 120, think about 120 rounds, somewhere in that realm. But PMC will get you there for not that much money. What, $11, or let's say $10, $11 a box. You buy yourself $6. You'll be all right. The other thing I'm going to recommend for my 22 loving friends, my Aguila Super Extras. I know I've talked about my Aguila ammo. I love it more and more every day. And so Aguila is just doing the job. A lot of my buddies, I've been recommending get yourself a 22 for both practice and fun, and even for a bug out scenario, getting your Ruger 1022. What I've noticed is Ruger 1022 magazines tend to get caught if you're shooting hollow points. It's just the way that that's designed, and it's a really nice system, but it's not designed, in my opinion, for hollow points. And I have a little bit more feeding issues with those. Aguila, less issues in general, but you get the round nose, and I never have a feeding issue on there. And so, great way to go about it, either for targeting or, man, if I needed, I could do some squirrel hunting. I could shoot some coyotes if I needed to with this. Great way to go. But man, this Aguila is really inexpensive. Like, man, the 500 round brick for $30. Not bad at all. You can't beat that. So get yourself some PMC, get yourself some Aguila, get yourself a trauma kit, check out the Amend 2. Man, these guys should pay us. Crying out loud, I'm getting way too many plugs. And that'll put you all well on your way for what you need to do. I'm about to jump on here. As soon as we're off of here, I will jump on to our Facebook page and give us the trauma kit list.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do you have any other thoughts, though?
No, I would just like to say that I think I mentioned this on one of our earlier podcasts. I accidentally bought rounds, 9mm rounds that have steel in them. Basically, they're magnetic, and you can't shoot those at most indoor ranges because they can start a fire. And it was a total accident. I didn't mean to buy those, but I did. And it's kind of funny because I got like 1,500 of those rounds right now. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? They shoot just fine. So I may not be able to use them at the range, but I have an emergency here at home. I'm okay because they come out of the gun just fine.
They do just fine.
You got to do what you got to do, man. You got to do what you got to do.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, you should. That's a good way to do it. Don't be ashamed to have those as your loadout. That sounds kind of awesome, actually. Yeah. Good stuff, man. Well, man, I'll tell you guys, check out Lake Erie Arms when you get the chance, learms.net. Things are busy and booming in there, but, man, we don't run out of stuff by God's good grace. And so come on in and check us out.
Cool. Well, awesome, guys. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of the From Concealment Podcast. We'll be back next week with another episode. Talk to you all then. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
You've been listening to the From Concealment Podcast with Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams. Be sure to tune in next week for more gun talk. Also, check out the From Concealment website for more shooting-related goodness at FromConcealment.com.